Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really sucking the ball. Not the ball. Guns over the wall. East side, west side.
Hey everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the Hut. And please subscribe to the Baseball Hut as we talk about one of our favorite teams, or our favorite team, and as New York Mets. We're going to talk about a couple of things here today, and I think a very interesting little articles I have here. And we'll talk about Starling Marte, Chris Bryant again, and Robbie Cano, don't you know? But I want to say hello to Mets Nick Bory. Hello, Gio Flores. And I'm going to get into this article because obviously the Mets still don't have a general manager. And Sandy had mentioned during the week, during the general managers meetings, that one of the biggest obstacles for the Mets to get a new general manager is the fact that they are in New York. Now, I'm going to read you this article, which I think is a bunch of crap, from Joel Sherman, who's a national reporter, but he has been in New York for 30 years as a reporter here. He was very much covered the Yankees, a big Yankee guy. So that's just to give you a little perspective of where this article is coming from to a certain degree. So let me, what's going on here? Discover nothing. This is from the New York Post. If I can get this down, here we go. Now, please like this video if you haven't already. And here we go. So I will get into some other things, but this show's a little bit different than some of the other shows that you might watch on YouTube when it comes to baseball, because I do like the hammer the media. I'm not a big fan of the media. They cause a lot of problems in our country, and I'm just fed up with them. And this article, and this is really an opinion piece by Joel Sherman. This basically ignores the problems that's going on in our city right now. Now, I live in New York City. I don't know where you're all from, but I live in New York City, and we'll get into this. So the headline is, Sandy Alderson's excuse for Mets front office search overlooks real issue. Tell me how Sandy Alderson blaming New York as a major factor in keeping qualified candidates to run baseball operations away from the Mets isn't worse than a few of the team's players turning thumbs down at the fans. First of all, that's not what Sandy said. He said coming to New York is a big challenge, and being the Met general manager is a big challenge. Because he got 35 years of a bad, toxic front office, and whoever's going to come in here is going to have to change a lot of stuff. This is not to pardon Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, and Kevin Pillar for their derisive gestures. Now, it's funny, they mentioned Pillar. Now I knew, and I think we all knew that Pillar was doing this, but all of a sudden they're putting Pillar in here, and which I think is interesting. They didn't mention him up until now, and now that he's gone, they said such wonderful things about Pillar when he got hit in the head, but then they went after him now in this article. But they are the employees, still relatively young men, overreacting in real time. Alderson is one step down from the ultimate boss, Steve Cohen. He's supposed to be the adult in the room. He was hired by the Wilpons, then by Cohen for his been there, seen it all gravitas. He has, unfortunately for the organization, had weeks and months to think about this. So how is this statement from the general manager's meetings wise? Admittedly, quote, admittedly, there's a reluctance to come to New York, but I think it's mostly about New York and not about Steve or the organization or what have you. It's a big stage, and some people would prefer to be elsewhere. Or this, if you're looking to be comfortable, the Mets are probably not the place to come. Now, a couple of things. New York is in bad shape. New York is in extremely very difficult position right now. Crime has gone down from last year. I was looking at some stuff last night. Statistically, crime is down, but crime is up to where it was, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. All right, we have an outgoing mayor who's completely, totally destroyed the city. We have a new mayor coming in. Um, and he was a cop, but Black Lives Matter threatened him the other day and told him that if he reinstated the task force that the police had working, that was started under Giuliani and continued with Bloomberg and dismantled by de Blasio. And they told him that if he reinstates this is Adams, that they will burn down the city. There will be bloodshed, meaning they will kill people. So the question is, from that perspective, if you are somebody who is in a front office, say out in the West Coast or in the central part of this country, what gives you this idea that you want to come here and 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 bring your kids? So if you're in your late 30s or early 40s, why would you want to bring your kids here to have them be surrounded between uh you can't go this place, you can't go that place for whatever reason. You're not safe in the city. I used to go to conventions, these Comic Cons in the city, and a lot of times they would be at the Javits Center or across the street from Madison Square Garden. Now, if it was at the Javits Center, I would take the train in and go straight to Times Square, get off at Times Square, and walk from Times Square down to the Javits Center. It's about a 15-minute walk. I will not do that under any circumstances now. It is very dangerous in the city, extremely dangerous. Crime is out of control on the subways. Crime is out of control on the subway stations. Lewd behavior. It is really bad here, extremely bad. Let me continue this article. All right. Now this guy, he tugs at the heartstrings of us older Met fans and older fans than we are in the chat. Here's another way to address candidates. Would you like a full DVD set of Once Upon a Time in Queens? Because if you watch the ESPN documentary, you will see just how great it can be in New York if the Mets win. You can see the Mets can own this town. That was 40 years ago, man. You're comparing the Mets now, the city now. The city wasn't safe. But here's the thing about the city in the 80s. We didn't have a mayor here that hated the cops. We didn't have a mayor here that hated the city. Like the mayor that's leaving and kind of the mayor that's coming in. Mayor Koch loved this city. Let me just skip a little bit. Is that really a New York problem? Let me get into this other stuff. Or did New York become a problem because of one drop baton pass after another on the executive and ownership level? Does anyone believe the Yankees again? Blah, blah. Here's the thing. For all these years here, they complained about the media, complained about the Wilpons all these years. Now they're still complaining about the Mets. All right. New York should be a selling point. The fans have stayed loyal, passionately so, despite all the losing. The stadium is outstanding. The network provides the best local broadcast in the sport, in my opinion. This owner apparently will not have qualms about investing whatever necessary in infrastructure, personnel, and payroll. To take every one of those advantages and reach the second weekend in November without a president of baseball operations, GM, manager, and most of the coaching staff is about New York as much as growing tropical fruit is about New York. Hiring Mickey Callaway, Jared Porter, and Zach Scott all on Alderson's record isn't about New York. It's about process. Here we go with process. Let me sort of mention about Mickey Callaway. He was a terrible manager for 2 years, but his second year, when the team was so bad, he got this team turned around to where they won 86 games, and that's the most wins they had in a very long time. Now, I'm not defending Mickey under no circumstances, but he did not do a bad job in 2019, especially the last 2 months. Jared Porter, disaster. And Zach Scott, You read on Twitter, these idiots complain that Zach Scott is another general manager that got fired, that got himself into trouble. When the Mets fired him, they said, "Well, you know what? They shouldn't have fired him." Can't win. Um, it is up to Alderson and Cohen to sell why fixing the Mets is the best job in the sport, not something to run away from. Buying into the anti-New York rhetoric. Get this. This is a knock. Into the anti-New York rhetoric is for vicious talk radio in the heartland. Not something that should come out in the mouth of the president of the New York Mets. Would Alderson sell his house by talking about the termites? Now, this comment, this is the problem. This comment right here about the Midwest. I talked to a lot of people that aren't from New York, and I've done videos. I have done videos on New York, and the videos bomb. I don't understand this. Like, I would do so many videos on the Patriot Hut on Andrew Cuomo, is one of the biggest sleaze bags we've ever seen here in this state and in this history of this country. And um, the videos bombed. Nobody watched them. And I asked around, I said, why is this happening? There's people outside of New York. They're like, well, New York, nobody cares about New York. Because when people look at New York, they think it's lost as a city. Lost in terms of being a modern city. In terms of being really, it's regressing. You know, they talk about progressivism. It's regressing. So when I hear that from people that outside, then I kind of understand. So like I said, if you're a young executive who's in his 40s and has a young family, why would you want to bring your children and have them exposed to this? You know, Mets have a great owner. They got world great fans here. We got Mets have a lot of money, and people and the media just keeps making up excuses. Now I really believe that any general manager that comes in here, he's got a clean house. Sandy's only going to be here another year. So Sandy is a minor thing. But clearly, and I was thinking about this a lot, that whoever's in that front office is probably dragging out the process because they know anybody coming in here is going to basically fire them. So they don't want to bring in somebody that's competent. Now, there was this weird story about David Stearns, how the Mets are waiting around another year for him to become the president of baseball. That's ridiculous. It's a stupid story. I don't know where that story has come from. But clearly someone in the front office is talking about it. Somebody in the Mets front office is talking about this stuff. That is the person that's causing the trouble in the Met front office and probably what's holding everything back here. I have a friend who worked for Sandy Alderson in San Diego, believe it or not. And he said Sandy was great to work for. You never hear anything bad about Sandy. Now, the media does this sort of vagaries. They don't like the kind of comments that Sandy makes. Because Sandy, here's the thing about Sandy, I think we all know that. He takes forever to decide on things. He takes forever to make trades. He takes forever to do stuff. Really, for the first 2-3 years here as general manager, he did very little work to improve the Mets. It did very little. He didn't bring any big talent. He didn't bring any big minor league talent, nothing. It wasn't until really 2014, 2015 he started bringing in talent. When he brought in Grandison and Bartolo and then eventually Kadire and Cespedes. You know, but the thing is that you also have to understand too. The Wilpons were here a very long time. They owned part of this team for 40 years. Okay, it is going to take a while to get rid of this garbage that's been around. Also, have to keep in mind as well, the Wilpons are still around. The Wilpons are still ownership here. They own 5% of the team. Also, the Wilpons own SNY. If you watch WFAN, people like Maggie Gray and Mark Malusis, they are employed by the Wilpons. They work for SNY. and they've been hitting the Mets hard all week. They're paid by the Wilpons. It does, and we know guy. He's extremely spiteful when it comes to anything. He was not happy that he got snookered on this deal with Cohen, because Cohen got the Mets cheaper than he wanted to spend, because they wanted to keep the team another 5 years. Jeff Wilpon did not want to sell the Mets. He was forced to sell the Mets. You know, his uncle Saul Katz, who was the president of the Mets for all these years, wanted to retire, and his children did not want to work with Jeff. And the reason the Mets got sold was because they couldn't afford to run the team anymore. So they're still around. Mets Nick's Borer. Yankees never have a problem getting people to come here. They've had a general manager here for 30 years. They've had a guy here for 25 years. And it's really been over since 2017. The Mets have been unstable in terms of the front office and on the field. You know, that's really what it's been like. Um, and I'll mention this again. You know, you don't have to root for the team. Um, if you don't like the Mets, you don't have to root for them. There's no reason to complain. Now, I'm not defending what's going on, but I'm just sort of bringing this up that the Mets always get unfairly hit all the time, and it gets annoying. You know, a month into Cohen owning the team last night, the media was complaining he wasn't doing anything, and now a year later, they still say, and people come into my chat or people leave me a message, the Mets haven't done anything. You see the moves the Mets made last year. All these players get hurt. What are you going to do? But I just wanted to talk about this because this has sort of been building over the last couple of days with me. But I don't think that 1986 was really the kind of connection he wanted to bring up. But like I said, this is, in terms of city, this is not a great situation here. But so let me just get to the chat. Hello, Pat Cole. Hello, Joey. Hello, Captain Obvious. Let's see. Well, Sledge 420. And also, I bring this up. I listened to the last schmooze with Steve Summers, like the first 10 minutes of it. I hadn't listened to Steve Summers in a long time, and now I understand why. I remember why. And he sounded terrible. If anyone listened to Steve Summers the other night, he sounded terrible. You could tell that he, in terms of his vocal strength, he sounded terrible. I couldn't believe how bad he sounded. Just sort of wanted to mention that. Hello, Eddie Wilkes. Hi, how are you? And so I was very surprised, to hear how he sounded. And he sounded boring. And he was boring. Steve was boring. Steve used to be much more entertaining than he used to be. You could tell that he's not. He can't do the job anymore. It's not like when Francesa retired. When Francesa retired, his voice hadn't gone. Steve's voice isn't the same. It was very high pitched. And his ad libs at the beginning of the show was not very good, to be honest with you. A little scatterbrain for Steve. But anyway, so please like this video if you haven't already, and leave. If you're watching our replay, leave comments in the comment section. I always get comments on my live streams. It's great. This community is very good. I gotta say, people that come in here, you're very, very nice. I'm just saying. I'm not just saying that. I could be a little grumpy on the other channels, because I deal with some real immature people. But the Mets fans community is very nice, and I thank you for taking the time and watch my videos and leave comments and yada yada yada. So here we go. Let's talk about Starling Marte. Now, a couple of teams are talking to him. One of which is, believe it or not, the Marlins, which the Marlins have actually given him a contract offer over the last day or so. And Interestingly enough, now I'm going to read you an article. This is from again from the New York Post. Uh, this is about Starling Marte and Chris Bryant. I'm going to get sick of talking about Chris Bryant, but he is a guy the Mets have been trying to get for quite a while, and you know the guy could play third. He could play all three outfield positions, and here we go. Captain Obvious. Thank God he's still alive. Captain Obvious. He didn't sound like that the other day. He sounded old, quite frankly. You know. All right, this is from today. Starling Marte, Chris Bryant, two potential outfield options for Mets. Now there is a lot of talk that a lot of players are going to sign before the CBA expires on December 1st. And I expect a long lockout, folks. I expect long lockout. We're gonna probably take this into February and March, and it's not because of the players. It's going to be because of the commissioner. Uh, he is a disaster. Uncertainty has hovered over the Mets early on this offseason, but it's not just their front office that remains unsettled. The outfield situation looms as a question mark, with Brandon Nimmo looking to be the only certainty to return next season. And even he could be a candidate to get bumped to one of the corner outfield spots. Now, Nimmo is a free agent after next season, so it should be interesting. Hopefully, he stays healthy, because he was the year that Brandon was having last year. He looked like he was going to be an all-star, and then he hurt his hand. He did something weird to his hand, but he looked like he was going to be an all-star. And I predicted before the season he was going to be an all-star, and unfortunately, he got hurt. Those corners were manned by Conforto and largely Dominic Smith last season, but Conforto set to turn down the qualifying offer, which he has, and hit the open market, while Smith's regression in 2021 clouds his future and role for next season. That'll be up to whomever ultimately is hired to run the Mets front office, but it's possible the team will be looking to acquire two starting outfielders this offseason. Now, Dom Smith, in my view, is not an everyday player, and he's certainly not a major league player right now. You can disagree with me all you want. I've seen enough of him that he is not any good. Um, Otherwise, the top free agent outfielders. Oh, I'm sorry. The Mets still could try. Bleh. The Mets still could try to resign Conforto to a bigger contract. Sorry, it's all going up and down. After he turns down the qualifying offer, though he could find a better deal somewhere else, with the Phillies and his hometown Mariners among his possible landing spots. He can land anywhere. He could go anywhere, because with this age and money talks. So whoever gives him the most money, he's going to go. Simple as that. But the Mariners are a good spot. He's from Oregon, and he was a Mariners fan growing up. And the Phillies have been connected to Michael. Otherwise, the top free agent outfielders in the market include Starling Marte, Chris Bryant, Nick Castellanos, and Chris Taylor. Castellanos and Taylor are both expected to decline qualifying offers, meaning the Mets would have to give up their number 14 overall pick in next year's draft to sign either one. Earlier this week at the GM meetings, Sandy Alderson indicated his preference would be to avoid signing a free agent that would cost the Mets a draft pick. So, Marte and Bryant were both traded midseason, meaning the A's and Giants could not make them qualifying offers. Mets have already shown interest in Marte, MLB Network reported Friday. The center field is coming off a strong season, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago too, in which he batted .310, stole an MLB high 47 bases, and recorded a 132 OPS plus. He's 33, which could give the Mets pause depending on the length of the contract he's looking for, but he would provide an immediate impact offensively, defensively, and on the base. I could see him getting 4 years. 4 years and probably $100 million, I would think. He's a right-handed bat, which the Mets kind of need. Mets have to change the whole look of this everyday lineup. Obviously, this has not worked at all. Signing Marte would likely mean Nimmo would move to a corner outfield spot where he may be better suited defensively. He made strong defensive strides last season, center in part due to better positioning, going from -5 defensive run saved 2020 to 4 in 2021. Now, now Brandon, if Marte's on the team, Marte's going to be leading off in my mind, and you bad Nimmo second. Another option is Bryant, whose versatility could help the Mets. In addition to playing all three outfield positions, majority of his MLB starts have come at third base. Another hole the Mets will be looking to fill this offseason. But the thing about third, and I mentioned this, they can't put a third baseman there and that's it, because you have Brett Beatty and you have Mark Vientos knocking on the door to be here. And would mention about Brett Beatty that he was named, I guess, the Arizona Fall League Player of the Week the first week of that season of that league, and he's also on the All Star team, which they had an All Star game yesterday, and I think he hit a double in the game. So the Mets can't plug that hole up. Let me read you a couple other names. Now, please like this video if you haven't already. I'll get to the chat in a minute. Kyle Schwarber and Avisale Garcia, two other outfielders without a qualifying offer attached to them who could be of interest. Schwarber inflicted plenty of damage on the Mets last season with 9 of his 32 home runs coming against them. Garcia enjoyed a solid season with the Brewers, hitting 262 of a 117 OPS. Now, they both had good years on good teams. Kyle Schwarber and Kyle Schwarber does not have a qualifying offer to him. I think Garcia does, but Schwarber doesn't, because he was traded from Nationals to the Red Sox. I would look to Schwarber because the Mets going to need some left-handed power on this team, especially losing Conforto. And he's a better bat. He's just a more dangerous hitter in my view. All right. The Mets do not have plenty. The Mets do not. I read is fundamental. I hadn't read this yet. The Mets do not have plenty. The Mets do not have plentiful. It's just a weird way they wrote it. Mets do not have plentiful internal options. It remains to be seen what will happen with Smith, who was one of their best players in the short 2020 seasons before taking a step back last season while battling through injuries. He had lost his starting job in left field to Jeff McNeil by the final month of the season, though neither is a strong defensive option. The only other outfielders currently on the Mets' 40-man roster are Khalil Lee and Mark Payton. Lee, 23, struggled in a cameo last season with the Mets outfield when the Mets outfield was depleted by injuries. But the left-handed hitter finished strong in AAA. Syracuse batting 274 with a 951 OPS. Now, here's the thing about Lee. He's a big-time outfielder. He's a big-time defensive player. I think we saw a little bit of him last year, and he did not do well offensively. But he went back to AAA, and he raked. He did pretty good from when they called him up. So, but Mets need to bring in some players outside the organization. They need to change this whole entire lineup, obviously, because they were so bad. I mean, they've been so bad the last few years. Let me get to the chat. Pat Cole says, I'd rather have Marte over Castellanos. Well, Castellanos is a good player. But you'd have to give up a draft pick. I don't know if I want to give up a draft pick. I don't want to see the Mets give up any draft picks. In fact, I want to see them add draft picks. So if, for instance, Conforto leaves, and he's going to leave, the Mets will pick up a draft pick, And I understand that the Mariners are very serious about improving their team. They won 90 games. They didn't make postseason. The talk is they're going to spend a lot of money. There's also talk that the Blue Jays are going to spend money. There's talk about the Marlins spending money. Mets next Bory mentions Eddie Rosario. Gotta be careful with him because he had a career. He had a career stretch. Captain Ives says he wants Jock Peterson. Sign Jock Stone, Cole Peterson for lefty off the bench. We want starters here, Captain Obvious. We want everyday players on the Mets that are good players. Trademark Productions, get rid of Cano. Okay, Trademark, what do you do? What do you do? And what do you say? And it's funny you mentioned Robbie because I'm going to go through some of his statistics. But what do you do with him? You say get rid of him. Okay, he's got $40 million that the Mets are owed him. Mets owe him $40 million. He's got $50 million left on his contract, 10 of which, or 20 of which, that the Mariners are picking up. Um, so I'm asking you, what do you want the Mets to do with that contract? Do you eat the money? Do you say, Robbie, hey Robbie, put this stuff in your, take this juice, it'll be good for you. That'll solve the problem, So if he does steroids again, that'll solve the problem. Angel Rivas says not happen. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Incomplete sentences do not work here. I don't know what you're talking about. But let's go. Let's go to Robbie's page on Baseball Reference. If you don't know about Baseball Reference, you gotta check it out. Baseball Reference is a great page. It's a great page to find great statistics on everything, every player. Now, please like this video if you haven't already, and we'll wait for this video to come up. As my computer is frozen, as always. Oh, okay. Angel says not going to happen. Getting rid of Cano. Okay. Maybe he's productive. He was productive in 2020. We know why now. All right, let's go through a little bit of Robbie's stuff here. As my computer is frozen on me. 8-time All-Star. Home Run Derby champion. As you know, he played with the Yankees for a long time. So he went to the Mariners as a free agent. As my computer has frozen. Lovely. Isn't this lovely? All right. He's 39. He's going to be 39. Well, he's 39 now. He just turned 39. So you'll have him for next year for 39 and the following year at 40. He's left-handed batter. Won World Series, 5-time Silver Slugger, 2-time Gold Glover. But he's not really Gold Glover anymore. He can't play second anymore. Not on a regular basis. I don't know how they're gonna rectify this whole situation with him defensively. Now let's go through his 2020 season. 2020 hit 316. 316. Interesting. 10 home runs, 30 RBIs. 544 slugging percentage, a big difference from the year before. The year before he had 256 and slugging percentage of 428. And we know why his numbers were the way they were. And he's been injured. He was hurt in 2019, as you know. Missed 60 games. And then obviously he missed all of 2021. If Robbie has anything left and he's not on the juice, he should be productive. Yeah, no. But how much does Robbie have left? That's really the question. Because if Robbie has anything left, he could be very productive. But you can't rely on him to bat third. He's not a 3-hitter. So if he comes in here, he's got to bat in the bottom of the lineup. He's got to bat in the bottom of the lineup. He's got to play a little bit third. He has to play a little bit of. He's going to be DHing, that's for sure. Roberto says Sandy Olson needs to go. Well, he's got a 2-year contract. And Uncle Steve must bring a new general manager in order to make the Mets a better. Well, we all know that, Roberto. And Alderson has a contract for this year, and that's it, I would assume. Ted 2414 says resign Baez, get Beltran in, he'll get the most out of him and Lindor. Who knows about that? Who knows about that with Carlos? I couldn't tell you on that. That I don't know. That I don't know. I don't think anybody knows how Beltran would be as a manager. He should get another chance. He should be out of baseball. He should be in baseball. Um, it's a weird thing. I mean, early on, a couple weeks ago, I was hearing that the Mets were going to hire a manager before they hired a general manager. Now, I don't know why they would do that. Now, they said at the GM meeting, Sandy said that he wasn't going to do that. So, that's the thing that I really don't trust the media when it comes to a lot of stuff. So, but Beltran, he was a smart player, maybe too smart, as it turned out. But let me go through some names here. Got to cross out a whole bunch of names. All right. So Raquel Ferreira, she's out. Sid Medjol, Midel, he's out. They didn't talk to Brian Sabian. They didn't talk to Mike. I don't even know who's on this list. We know about Adam Cromie. He's a name. He's a prominent name, but they didn't like hire him yet. I don't know what the hell they're waiting for. And there was another name, another executive from the Nationals, who's an assistant general manager from the Nats. I don't know who it is. I forgot the name and I write it down. But Billy Epler was a name that's out there. But from what I understand with Billy, that he just took on a job I think in a law firm. But I know that he's very impressive, and he didn't do a good job with the Angels. But the Brian Cashman has a lot of really likes him a lot. So let's see who else. But a lot of names we didn't hear much about. Josh Burns didn't hear anything about. Michael Hill, they didn't talk to Michael Hill. They didn't talk to Brian Sabian, who was talking about getting the job, wanting the job. See, that's the thing. I think if they don't want to hire somebody like a guy like Brian Sabian, who's 65 years old, and then maybe in 5 years he retires, I don't think they want to do that. I think they want to bring in some young guy. I don't know. I would mention about David Stern. David Stearns is that he's not won a World Series in Milwaukee, by the way. And there is no talk about a manager. Early on, we were talking a lot about the manager, but not right now. I like Buck Showalter. Alan Carpenter says, pay Cano to go away. Well, if Robbie is still productive, then why have him leave? The Mets need offense on this team. And without Conforto, their balance in terms of their lineup, where's their balance coming from? Paco says Cano will save the franchise. No. He's not going to save the franchise. But, that's the thing about Cano. What if Cano is still productive? Okay. Now, if he's productive because of artificial means, well, then the clock will be ticking and he'll be gone because they're going to watch him like a hawk. Because if he does it one more time, he's gone. His career is completely over. Alan says this, yeah, but he got caught. He got cheating twice. Once is fine, but he's gotten caught twice. Okay, what's it have to do with anything? If Robbie is productive, you keep him on your team. If he's not productive, then you're gonna have to figure out what to do with him. If he's done, because no steroids is gonna be able to make him run faster. And the steroids can only work for so long, and then the body starts to break down. The cheating, getting caught, that doesn't mean anything to me. Okay. How he handles himself when he comes back with his teammates, with the media, is he contrite? Whatever he has to do to get people to sort of accept him back, that's up to him. But whether he's productive, now let me ask you something. If he's still productive, and the same Mets release him, they give him the money that you say they should do, and he goes and plays for the Phillies as a DH and does well, you're going to be writing to me here complaining that the Mets let him go without giving him a chance to see how he did. I know in this article I mentioned earlier in the live stream that Joel Sherman mentioned the Cano about him being so much older. But the thing about Robbie is that Robbie, Robbie was a very good hitter, and if he and he's a smart guy, and he provides, believe it or not, he provides leadership, and the Mets are in sore need of it. They need a leadership. They need leadership in that clubhouse badly. Okay, and Robbie was always a leader on his team, whichever team he was on, and people have talked about him in 2019, 2020. Dom Smith talked about him a lot. Dom did. Conforto did. About how and Pete Alonso talked a lot about Robbie, how important Robbie was on that team in 2019. So we can't like just sort of say, well, let him go. If he's productive, he stays. If he's productive, you play him. It's as simple as that. And I'm not defending what he did. It is terrible, you know. But that's something you got to keep in mind. The Mets have no leadership on this team, and because there's no leadership here, how are they gonna? And even Joey Davis said, like I mentioned in last week's article, he said this team was different this year, and he said it without saying it, but he kind of indicted Francisco Lindor. Well, the thing with McNeil and Lindor, that would not have happened if Robbie was in that clubhouse. And that certainly wouldn't have happened if David Wright was here. Um, you know, so that's that. I mean, McNeil has put a bullseye on himself because of his attitude of not wanting to play the shifts and giving a hard. First of all, both players look bad in this story. Okay, the fact that it gets to a point that Louis wants to sit McNeil, uh, that does not speak well of McNeil. But the thing about McNeil, the Mets have to be very careful with, is that Jeff can hit. Okay, we all know Jeff can hit. Jeff's been a 300 hitter in the major leagues. So he's not somebody you don't non-tender him, you don't trade him, you kind of hold on to him unless the situation gets so bad that you move him out of here. Now Jeff is not an everyday second baseman from what I saw this past season. I thought that he could probably play second. I really feel that he could probably play third, but he didn't play well at third either. Uh, so I'm starting to think that he might be one of these players. If you play him in one place um, every day, his value goes down as a player. I think if you play him every second, a few days a week, third, a couple of days a week, a little bit left, a little bit right, uh, his value is much better, and he doesn't really hurt you at any one position. So, say for instance, the Mets put on a mound a ground ball pitcher. Maybe you put, like, say, Stroman. Maybe you put Jeff in left field, or if the Mets have a pitcher that's a fly ball pitcher, you play Jeff in the infield, or you DH Jeff. Jeff is the kind of player you probably would be better off where he's playing different positions every day. That every day he doesn't know where he's going to play, and that might be a better situation where he doesn't hurt you, long term defensively. But I would mention though the Mets defense up until the last 2 months was very good. Was very very good. That was one thing that was different from years past that the analytics made a major improvement on was the defense of this team. But it just sort of collapsed the last 2 months to where the catching wasn't nearly as good and all that. Uh, Dulce Marist, the DH coming to the National League would help. Absolutely. I'm tired of watching the pitcher hit, quite frankly. I'm tired of watching it. You know, it did bother me this week that Jacob DeGrom did not win the Silver Slugger. He had a higher batting average than Max Fried. He had more hits than Max Fried. He had more runs better than Max Fried. And Jacob did not win the Silver Slugger, and he should have. And he missed half the season, and his statistics were better across the board. And he should have won the Silver Slugger. The Mets got jobbed on a couple of things when it comes to some of these awards this past week. Another one was Stroman. Stroman should have won the Gold Glove. I don't even know who won the Gold Glove. Who won the Gold Glove for the for pitchers this year? I don't even know. But Stroman should have won it because he played great defensively, and he didn't even get a sniff. He didn't even get any votes. He didn't even finish like top 3. And neither did Taiwan Walker. But it was a weird week. Hopefully we'll. Now I would mention this before we end the live stream. Uh, Friday, Friday, the Mets are putting their season tickets on sale. So they're going to have to do something before Friday to get people incentivized to spend money on a season ticket. You know, the Mets next Bory Lindor slapped him with the force of 1,000. Okay, I don't know what that means, but Lindor did not deserve the Gold Glove. um, Lindor is a weird defensive player. He's got great range. He's got great hands. Got great presence on the field. But man, he's got no arm. He's got no arm. He does not have a good arm at all. His arm is terrible. His arm is terrible. The Camaras says this: Max Fried got the National League Pitcher Gold Glove. He's okay defensively. Now, the pitchers defensively, it's usually one guy that gets it every year. From Jose Nieves asks, you think Javi Baez is going to sign with the Mets? I think it's probably a good possibility. Um, I think that's a very good possibility. Um, Javi's a good player. He's a very smart player. He's a very instinctive player. I did mention this. I'm going to keep saying this. That I would not have made the trade for Francisco Lindor and then right away sign him, because with all these shortstops that were going to be free agents, it made no sense for the Mets to sign Lindor to that contract, not knowing if he could handle it in New York, and with all these other shortstops here. And I wanted the Mets to bring him Baez. I'm very consistent with that. And you saw how well he played. Thumbs down or not, he played really well. High energy guy. He won a lot of games on his own. And, but I would point out, I would say this: I'm sort of half and half on whether to sign him because of the money. He's going to want a lot of money. And the Mets have holes with their pitching. They have holes in the outfield. And I don't want to but I would say that he did help Lindor. He takes a lot of pressure off of Lindor. I think that's a big reason why Lindor had a big September. Plus, the pressure was off too. I would say this, and I've said this a couple times about Lindor. He plays well when he's mad. He doesn't play well when he's happy. So he needs to sort of find his gumption and play with a little bit more of an edge than he does. None of this sort of happy nonsense that he does with the laughing with the other players. It's a little weird. And then after seeing how much he plays well when he's on edge, there's no reason for why he shouldn't be playing on the edge. But well, where we go from here? Well, like I said, the Mets have season tickets that they'll be putting out on Friday. Sorry. Hopefully, we'll have some news tomorrow. Now, I will have the Baseball Hut 2 live stream tomorrow night. Probably at 6:30 after I watch SNY's baseball night in New York. I do get some information from there. Hopefully the Mets will. Hopefully they sign a general manager. This has gone on long enough. It's time to get off the pot, Sandy. It's time to get off the pot. Do your business. Do your business. Get off the pot, and sign a general manager, and get this thing rolling. Get a manager. Start making some trades. Start signing some free agents. Any moves the Mets make going forward is going to be through this free agency, or they trade one headache for another headache. Like you say, trading Dom Smith for a player that is struggling. You know, that's the kind of trade that's going to be out there for the Mets if we're talking about trades. But like we know, Sandy takes forever to do stuff. That's why the Mets need a general manager to come in here that's going to be aggressive and is going to look at things in a very clear way. Um, but we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll talk about the Mets again. Hopefully, like I said, we'll have some news on the general manager. And that's pretty much it. But I'll be back next Sunday in a live stream on this channel, and we'll have videos up on the channel during the week. Hope we'll have some news. We always talk about rumors on this channel. This is a big rumor channel, but what's different about this channel is I will talk about the media. Most of the YouTubers that are out there, they don't talk about the media. I will do that. I don't care. And I'm very concerned that they really want to cancel the New York Mets. They want to cause all kinds of havoc to make it difficult for us to enjoy the team. And I think a lot of that article, that Joel Sherman article, was a way to attack the Met fan too by bringing up 86. There's no reason to bring up 80. It's an irrelevant situation right now. The world is very different than it was even 10 years ago. The world's gotten extremely vicious. Our country's gotten very vicious on one side in particular. But I want to thank you all for coming by. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Thank you for all the great comments in the chat. And we'll be back next week live. But importantly, I'll be back tomorrow night at the Baseball Hut too. So we'll talk about whatever I haven't gotten a chance to talk about tonight. So thank you. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.